Have you ever wondered what goes on behind the closed doors of the world's most secretive intelligence agency, the CIA? For decades, their clandestine operations have quietly shaped history, toppling governments, propping up others, and altering the course of nations without most of us ever knowing. Today, we're peeling back the curtain on some of the most audacious and world-altering secret missions ever undertaken. Get ready, because the truth is often stranger and far more complex than any spy movie. Our first stop is Iran, 1953. The democratically elected Prime Minister, Mohammad Mossadegh, had a radical idea: nationalize Iran's oil industry, which was largely controlled by the British. This didn't sit well in London or Washington. Fearing a potential shift towards the Soviet Union and the loss of crucial oil resources, the CIA, alongside Britain's MI6, launched Operation Ajax. It was a masterclass in covert action. They used propaganda to paint Mossadegh as corrupt and incompetent, bribed officials, and staged protests to create an atmosphere of chaos. The operation culminated in a coup that successfully overthrew Mossadegh and reinstated the Shah, Mohammad Reza Pahlavi, as the absolute monarch. For the next 25 years, the Shah ruled with an iron fist, backed by the West. While the mission was deemed a success at the time, securing Western oil interests, many historians argue it planted the seeds of deep-seated resentment that ultimately exploded in the 1979 Iranian Revolution, creating the geopolitical landscape we still see today. Next, we journey to Guatemala in 1954. President Jacobo Arbenz was another democratically elected leader with a bold plan for land reform. He wanted to redistribute uncultivated land from large estates to peasant families. The problem: the largest landowner in Guatemala was the American-owned United Fruit Company. When Arbenz's government offered to buy the land at the value the company had declared for tax purposes, a very low number, the company cried foul and turned to its powerful friends in Washington. The CIA sprang into action with Operation PB Success. It was a psychological warfare campaign on a massive scale. They set up a fake radio station called The Voice of Liberation that broadcast propaganda, staged small-scale incursions with a tiny rebel force trained by the CIA, and even had pilots drop bombs on Guatemala City to create the illusion of a full-scale civil war. Panicked and isolated, Arbenz resigned. This intervention plunged Guatemala into decades of brutal civil war and political instability, a stark reminder of how covert operations can have devastating, long-term consequences for entire nations. Let's fast forward to the height of the Cold War. The U-2 spy plane was the CIA's eye in the sky, a technological marvel that could fly at 70,000 feet, far above the reach of Soviet defenses. Or so they thought. From 1956 onwards, these planes, part of Project Aquatone, secretly photographed Soviet military installations, giving the U.S. invaluable intelligence about their nuclear capabilities. The project provided crucial information, for example, debunking the bomber gap and later the missile gap, which were fears that the Soviets had a massive strategic advantage. But on May 1, 1960, everything changed. A U-2 piloted by Francis Gary Powers was shot down over the Soviet Union. Initially, the U.S. government issued a cover story about a missing weather plane. But then, Soviet Premier Nikita Khrushchev revealed the bombshell. They had the pilot, alive, and the wreckage of the spy plane. It was a massive international embarrassment for the United States, torpedoing a crucial peace summit between President Eisenhower and Khrushchev. The U-2 incident didn't just expose a top-secret program. It shattered trust and dramatically escalated Cold War tensions. Now, imagine trying to salvage a sunken Soviet nuclear submarine from the bottom of the Pacific Ocean, 3 miles deep, right under the nose of the Soviet Navy. Sounds impossible, right? Welcome to Project Azorian. In 1968, the Soviet submarine K-129, carrying nuclear-armed ballistic missiles, sank in mysterious circumstances. The CIA saw an unparalleled opportunity to retrieve Soviet codebooks, nuclear technology, and encryption machines. So, they hatched one of the most elaborate and expensive covert operations in history. They commissioned the construction of a massive, one-of-a-kind ship called the Glomar Explorer, under the public guise that it was a deep-sea mining vessel owned by the eccentric billionaire Howard Hughes. The cover story was perfect. The ship was equipped with a giant mechanical claw, designed to lift the multi-thousand-ton submarine from the ocean floor. In 1974, they managed to raise a portion of the submarine. While the mission wasn't a complete success, the sub broke apart during the lift, they did recover vital intelligence and the bodies of several Soviet sailors who were later given a formal burial at sea. It was an incredible feat of engineering and espionage, a testament to the sheer audacity of the agency during the Cold War. Finally, we head to Afghanistan in the 1980s. After the Soviet Union invaded in 1979 to prop up a friendly communist government, the CIA launched Operation Cyclone, one of its longest and most expensive covert operations ever. The goal was to support the Afghan resistance fighters, known as the Mujahideen, in their guerrilla war against the Soviet Army. Working primarily through Pakistan's intelligence service, the ISI, the CIA funneled billions of dollars in funds, weapons, and training. This included providing the Mujahideen with a game-changing weapon, the Stinger anti-aircraft missile. These portable, shoulder-fired missiles allowed the fighters to shoot down Soviet helicopters and jets with devastating effect, effectively neutralizing the Soviets' air superiority. The war became a bloody and costly quagmire for the Soviet Union, often called their Vietnam. The sustained resistance, heavily backed by the CIA, was a major factor in the Soviet decision to withdraw in 1989. Many analysts believe the immense economic and military drain of the Afghan war contributed significantly to the eventual collapse of the Soviet Union itself just 2 years later. However, like other operations, Cyclone had a complex and controversial legacy. The weapons and training provided to the Mujahideen would later empower various factions, creating a power vacuum and contributing to the rise of extremist groups in the region, a ripple effect that continues to shape global events to this day. From Iran to Guatemala, from the skies over the Soviet Union to the depths of the Pacific, the CIA's secret missions have undeniably left a profound and lasting mark on our world. These operations highlight a constant tension between national security and national values, between short-term gains and long-term consequences. They show us how a small group of people, operating in the shadows, can redirect the river of history. The full story of many of these missions is still shrouded in secrecy, but what we do know paints a picture of a world far more complex and manipulated than we often imagine. Thanks so much for joining us on this journey into the world of covert operations. If you found this fascinating, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell so you don't miss our next deep dive into history's hidden stories. Let us know in the comments which CIA operation you find most intriguing. See you next time.